All right, we kind of back on schedule here with our normal Sunday practice. We had taken the last couple Sundays off just because we gotten back late. And it seems like we've just been playing for a long time, so it was good to get back on the field. Address the things that happened in the Wake Forest game and get ready to move on to Louisville. It's going to be an incredible challenge for us to go on the road. I've known Coach Satterfield for a long time from his days at App. He's done a fantastic job in a short time there. They are back on track offensively after their performance and win against Florida State. And they can run the stretch probably as good as anybody in America. Formations and motions and speed everywhere on the offensive side of the ball. You got a linebacker returning punts, and they're a 50 defense that brings pressure from everywhere. So Brian Brown, I've known him for a while. He does a fantastic job coordinating the defense. Going to be a tremendous challenge for us, but if yesterday's any indication of the rest of the week, I think our guys are anxious to get back on the field.
David, 2 and 1 lead off.
Justin, as you review the interceptions with Hendon, I know often it's not always all on the quarterback, but what did you guys see, especially on the first two, because the last one was just a desperation?
Yeah, so, you got a little context with those. The last one obviously was desperation mode. The first one there in the red zone at the end of the first half was he's going the right place with the ball. It was pretty tight coverage. The ball got tipped up, and the overlap player intercepted it. It's hard to get too upset. You don't like the outcome, don't get me wrong, but, sure the ball could have been maybe a little bit lower. But and then, the second one, Hendon would say if he was sitting right here, it was just not a very good read. And, those things happen. There's a lot of plays in the game, and, you got to be able to shake those things off and go respond and play the next play. So, we did turn the ball over three times, which is not good, and we understand that. We've got to try and find a way to win the turnover battle. It'll be the same again this week. But there's a lot of other plays in that game too, and a lot of other people that share in the outcome, starting with myself and working our way all the way down the line. We could have we were really close to having a few more big plays offensively, and pretty close, I thought, to having a couple opportunities on the defensive side to maybe create a turnover or two that just never came.
And then with the penalties, is there a price to pay in practice for those kind of missteps, especially the ones that show a lack of discipline?
Sure. When you go back and look at it, Dax's penalty at the very end of the game is not his fault. We have never kicked the onside kick like that. I've never seen us kick it like that. That's not really – that's certainly not on Dax. You look at – we had 2 holds on offense that, were probably unnecessary holds. And you've got, Norrell's and Hewitt's after the – Hewitt's – the targeting is one thing, but the outburst afterwards is unacceptable, and he knows that, and we've addressed it as a team. I have done a bunch of things before. If those things become habitual, I don't anticipate that they will become habitual. It's been addressed, and we'll be ready to move forward.
Andy?
Hey, Justin, you said after the game you kind of want to see more plays being made in the passing game. What do you think has been sort of the shortcoming there, and why you guys haven't been able to?
I really felt like it's just this week. I didn't feel like that in any other time. We certainly haven't been in the position to really basically have to make too many plays in the passing game. This past week we needed to, particularly in the red zone. We had 2 negative plays in the red zone that put us in passing situations, and we weren't able to really make a play in those. One of them, we had a pass interference that got called back because the ball was tipped, which was an unfortunate break. So I think we've got to be conscientious of where our guys are at through the week in terms of game planning, what they're capable of executing, and try to do a great job helping them be successful, whether that's formationally or schematically. But, I felt like last week was the first time that it hurt us.
You said in the past maybe sometimes you haven't seen receivers get separation. Do you feel like they're getting the separation that you want right now, or could that be better?
Oh, I mean, I think we've got to do a good job of helping that out. We have, we've been a little bit hit and miss, I guess I would say. Some at times we have been able to, and at times we haven't. So certainly not as consistent as we like. Hopefully we can do some things to help that out.
Mike Neisel, you guys have had success with some trick plays in the last couple of weeks. You had the fake punt. How much do you get to rep those in practice? And once you use one, does it go away and get replaced? I mean, do you reshape it? I mean, how does that work? Once you show a team something, do you try to do it differently next time?
Well, I mean, I guess it's really two categories. There's trick plays on offense, and then there's, essentially fakes or gamble plays on special teams. And, we try to have things prepared in the various phases of special teams on a week-to-week basis. We don't always have them. We don't always feel like they're advantageous to carry. They're usually in a variety of different phases. But we spend a lot of time on those things. I think they're important, and you only call them when they're really important, when you really need them. So, and also there's no sense practicing them if you don't have the courage to call them. And you've got to take the criticism that'll come with if they don't work, because there's never been a good one that didn't work, right? Like that's just comes with the territory. But we try and take the calculated risk when necessary. You usually have to continue to evolve and change. I don't think you can stay stagnant with the same ones all the time.
When you don't carry it in, is it a function of what the other team shows, or that week of practice you don't feel good about how you guys practice the play?
Well, I mean, certainly we have for instance, to answer your question, we have had particularly now with COVID, you find out a particular guy that's practiced it all week is now unavailable, then we're not going to put our team at risk by repping it with a guy, by calling it in a game with a guy that has not repped it. Sometimes it's also a product of what can you execute. You may have things that you really like. It's no different than offense and defense. You may have blitzes or runs or passes that you really like, or fakes or gadgets on kickoff return or punt return that you really, really like, but you may not have the personnel that can pull that off, and there's no use. If you can't make an objective decision about that, or you need to make an objective decision on whether you have the tools to try and practice it and pull it off.
Mike Barber.
Yeah, Justin, you hit on with Andy the idea of consistency, and Matt Brown said he sees less week-to-week consistency from teams around the country this year than maybe ever before. Is it a struggle within your program and just throughout your career to get your team to hit consistently week in, week out?
Oh, I mean, I think this season is a season like no other. It certainly has amplified that, just from player availability, uncertainty, coach availability, continuity, lack of practice. I mean, you just go on down the list. And again, I'm not making excuses. I'm just, those are the facts of the situation we're in. I think you see it across the country. When you don't play well, if you are super talented, you can overcome it. You see it, with certain teams across the country that, and you hope that you find a way to win the ball game and can teach the lesson off a win. But, this season has certainly been, you know, I think it's probably amplified all those things.
When you look at the development of Mario and Norrell inside, what have you liked about their progress?
Well, the first thing I would say about Norrell is he certainly took advantage of the quarantine time. He came back in the summer in really good shape. I mean, he definitely was not sitting on the couch, and I think that gave him a chance to have success. I mean, he could practice every day. He could practice at a high level every day, and it's really helped him and kind of boosted him up as he's entered this season. Pardon me. Mario was just a steady worker that I think continues to get better. I do believe both of them have enjoyed working with Tap and Tierlink. I think those two guys, those two coaches have certainly helped them, you know, kind of fall in love with the process of preparing from week to week. I've seen those guys doing more extra than I maybe ever seen before from them.
Thank you.
Norm,
Hey, Justin. Going back and watching the game this past weekend, there haven't been a whole lot of times throughout the season where it seemed like your guys up front on both sides of the line got pushed around on drives. It wasn't pervasive throughout the game, but there were certain drives that seemed like they did get pushed around both offensively and defensively on the line of scrimmage. Did you see that, and how concerning is that at this stage of the season? Are there things you can do to help that out at times?
Oh, I mean, I don't know. Like, I just certainly didn't feel like we were being dominated on the line of scrimmage. I mean, we gave up some yards rushing, but, you know, we're going to do that with the way we're configured right now. You know, offensively, they're speaking to their defensive line. I thought their defensive line was maybe the strength of their defense. They did a couple things a little bit different, moved a little bit, which we felt like they were going to do going into the game. So, I mean, I still feel good about both of those groups heading into the next week. Hey, on that note, I have this written down I forgot to bring up concerning the defensive line. Taiwan Garbett is back practicing with us. He's actually been back for a week or two. He hasn't practiced yet. We'll work him into practice a little bit now. I don't know when he'll be ready to play. Certainly, I do not believe it will be this week unless I'm just blown away by something or something crazy happens. But you know, he's been back kind of training and running and kind of getting back in the flow for the last couple of weeks. And we'll start working him into practice a little bit while still training him, you know, in terms of conditioning and lifting and stuff off the field.
Gene,
Yeah, Justin, you kind of hit on it a second ago, but just the run defense on Saturday, how would you kind of assess that in that game, and then just kind of overall to this point in the season?
Well, we missed a fit there on the big run, and I think it was the first drive when they were in big people on a short yardage play that maybe it was the second drive, I can't remember, but the big long run on third and short, we missed a fit in there with a young player that got it right the next time. So, you know, I just believe, guys, it's going to be, you know, we're trying to protect certain positions by calling things a little bit differently. Like we don't have as many people in the box as we traditionally have had, and that's a function of a lot of things that I'm sure you all can figure out. But so, you know, we're going to have to be willing to give up some yards rushing the ball in order to hopefully try and prevent the big plays that sometimes that can leave you exposed to in the back end.
Hank,
Hey, Justin, when a team plays so uncharacteristically, I guess, poorly as you guys did this week, how much does the first practice kind of tell you how well they're going to bounce back from that performance?
I don't know. I mean, I felt good yesterday. I always akin the Sunday practice to taking a shower. I mean, you just feel a little bit better when you get out of Sunday practice, whether you won or lost. And I love the way our guys responded with energy and juice. I was just as upset with the guys that didn't play in the game as I was the guys that made the mistakes that we've talked about so far today. Just we've got to understand each game. It's our job to carry the emotion on the sidelines. I didn't feel like we did as good a job of that as we should have done as well. So, it's not always a one-to-one ratio. I look for us to focus on continuing to get better. We'll have to do that as we move through the schedule, and hopefully our guys will continue to bounce back. But if yesterday was any indication, I feel pretty good about it.
How important is the way Hendon responds? I mean, he had 2 turnovers all of last year, and 4 the other day.
Yeah, I mean, if he thinks he's going to go through the whole season, not turning the ball over or never making a mistake, I mean, that's pretty unrealistic expectations for a guy that handles the ball every single snap. So he'll bounce back fine. Like I said, he had a good day yesterday. You got to be able to handle those things. You've got to have broad shoulders, and the quarterback gets way too much credit when we win and way too much blame when we lose. That just comes with the job, and the quicker you realize that, the quicker you can move forward either after a good performance or a bad performance.
With the onside kick and the kick catch interference, was the explanation for that simply just that the ball never hit the ground? What was kind of the?
Well, it one bounced. It was a one bounce kick, which we've never done. So when it hits one time, you can fair catch it. Does that make sense? Like it used to be years ago, kickers got really good at kicking it straight into the ground, and the ball would go straight up in the air, and the receiving team could not fair catch it because it had already hit the ground.
Thank you.
Aaron?
Hey, Justin, it seems like each of the last 2 games, the rush defense has been shaky in the beginning, but by the end of the game, the numbers look pretty good, especially compared to the first quarter. Do you feel pretty good about the adjustments that Justin Hamilton's making in game so far?
I do. I feel good about our knowledge of what we're trying to get accomplished and ability to diagnose what we're getting and tweak it or change it in order to give ourselves the best chance. So yeah, I do feel good about all of that. Like they being not just J-Ham, but all of them are clearly seeing what's going on, clearly getting it communicated to the the players. And it's been nice because to be honest with you, that was really difficult the first couple of weeks of the season. We were down so many coaches. Like we had a check in the first game that we tried to do at halftime that we could never get executed on the field. We covered it at halftime, but we were down so many coaches, it was hard to get it all. You can imagine the linear progression there of that information. We could never just quite get it executed. And I've seen us, with our full staff back multiple occasions, be able to make those tweaks and adjustments and give us a better chance.
Lane? Coach, regardless of whether or not you believe it to be true this week, are there fundamental scheme things that you like to do if you believe a team just has flat out more team speed than you do?
Well, I do think this. That's an interesting question. I think evaluating yourself in an honest way and evaluating the opponent is an important part of game plan on either side of the ball. Can we hold up if we do this? Yes or no? How is this matchup going to play out for us? Who do we need to protect? What do our guys do well compared to what does the other team do well? Obviously, I feel like Louisville runs as well as anybody I've seen, and there are some things that you will try to stay away from or try to do when you feel like a team is good at something or maybe not as good at something.
A couple more. Mike Nisley, you had a follow-up?
Yeah, Justin, when you guys are inside the 25 this year with Herbert, is it, he hasn't gotten, I think, 10 carries inside the 20. I mean, is it a function of what defenses are doing? Do you feel like you've gone away from him a little bit? I mean, I know you're trying different things, and there's obviously field is bunched up, but what do you when you watched it and looked over it, do you feel like you've gone away from a little too much maybe inside the 20?
Well, he's usually breathing really hard because he ran us all the way down there. So, no, I don't think we've gone away from him too much. I don't think we played well in the red zone last week, but, like he gets tired sometimes. He's got to come out. And if he's run us all the way down there, sometimes we got to give him a little blow. So, but I think the thing, we had to kick 5 field goals last week, okay, and we turned the ball over in the red zone. So, I mean, I'm being truthful and concerned in regard to talking about Khalil. But we also had 2 negative plays down there that really hurt us, that put us into obvious passing situations down there tight when we really felt like we've been really good down there in terms of getting that ball into the end zone. And I don't know what our stats are in terms of long field goals versus short field goals, but I feel like we've done pretty well getting it into the end zone down there. We did not do a good job last week.
And with Nick Gallo, I mean, he's been playing a lot. I mean, a lot of good focus on James Mitchell. Where's Gallo kind of improved? I mean, he's been on the field, half the game for most of these games. I mean, where's he kind of taking a step forward where you're able to rely on him as just a sophomore?
Yeah, well, we've been in 12 personnel quite a bit, and that lessens the burden a little bit on the receiving corps. But we've got really, and Drake has played some at tight end as well, but really Nick and James are so versatile and so smart that we can really do quite a bit of things with them, move them around, ask them to do different things. Nick is going to continue to become a better player as he continues to develop strength and has a real off season. He's made large strides in terms of blocking. If you are a tight end and you can't block, then you're just a slow wideout. So you have to contribute in the running game. So that's where we start with those guys, and Nick's made huge strides. He's going to continue to get better. But he also has pass-catching skills, and James gets a lot of attention, rightfully so. But, I think as he goes through his career, he's going to continue to become a weapon as well in the passing game.
Andy?
Justin, you touched on it at the beginning, but how challenging are these skill players for Louisville? Cunningham, Hawkins, and Atwell seem to have speed everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing that stands out. I've watched them on TV over the last couple of years, and man, I mean, that's the first thing I always think of. Whether they're winning or losing the game or home or away, I always wonder is like, man, I mean, it just seems like one guy right after another that can really run, and they run the stretch so well, and can circle the field with the fly sweep stuff really, really quickly. So it's awfully impressive to watch. We'll certainly have our hands full with that, but their scheme, to me, they do a great job of having complementary offense. They have stretch inside zone and perimeter run and all the nakeds and some quarterback run game off of that can make. Then they're in unbalanced, and then it's kind of one thing after another, but you can tell that they're doing a great job keeping it as simple as they can for the linemen and then moving all the pieces around on the outside. It's pretty special.
As a coach, does a team speed like that, I mean, game breakers, is that what kind of keeps you up worried about an opposing team's offense, or is it another thing?
Yeah, certainly when you're trying to limit big plays and, you have your eyes in the wrong spot, and for a 1 second or for one false step the wrong direction, and heading into the game, if that happens, it's not going to be a 10-yard gain. It's going to be an 80-yard gain. That gets your attention pretty quickly.
David?
Justin, do you find it odd and something that needs to be fixed that Louisville joined the league in 2014, and this will be the first time these two programs have played since?
Yeah, I find the ACC scheduling model perplexing. But I, and I always challenge our staff to do this, and our players. Like, I prefer not to be the person that complains about the problem without having the solution. I don't know what the solution is. I do think it's odd. I think it's, in some ways unfortunate. It is such a cool league with unique schools and, some regional, some regional benefits that I think are really unique and maybe only to the ACC that I think we don't get to take advantage of because of the way it's scheduled out. But I don't have the solution, so I'm not going to go on a rant complaining about it, but it is odd.
Thanks.
Mike Barber. Mike, did you have anything else?
Eislinger Barber.
No. Norm.
Hey, Justin, you guys have gotten off to a slow start of late. You've got like 10 combined points, first quarter points your last 4 games. Concerning to say the least.
I don't know. I mean, would we want to start better and start up? Yes. But, I mean, I didn't like the whole game last week, so I don't know if it's the start or the end or the middle. I didn't like any of it. So, the week before, I mean, it would be great to start off better. But, I mean, to me, it's about the plan. It's about the execution of the plan. What happens, sometimes people play you different. Sometimes they do different things, and you've got to find ways to adjust.
One more, Mike Nisley.
Yeah, Justin, anything you could share about Jermaine Waller? I mean, I know you said the injury is kind of separate from what kept him out. I mean, you said he's close, but I mean, was this something he suffered in the North Carolina game or something
Yes.
that happened in practice? It was North Carolina?
Yeah.
And so he's closer to coming back, and how hard has this been for him, this kind of 2 months where he's probably hasn't practiced much and played only 1 game?
Yeah, and he played too much in that game, to be honest with you. I thought he was an absolute warrior. We ended up putting him at nickel. I mean, he was put in an unfair situation, and I hate it for him, as were some of the other guys in that game. But so it's been real hard for him. He wants to play. He's going to go play. Like, I hope it's this week. But, I mean, he's certainly on the mend. He worked his tail off to come back, and then was through the circumstances we were in, was put in a unfair situation, in my opinion, and is healing up, and hopefully we'll be back soon. But yeah, I was in that game.
Thanks.
All right. Thank you, Coach. We'll have student athletes available tomorrow morning after practice. Thanks, everybody.